Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here. In this video we're talking about MAME, Game Boy, Nintendo Switch, Steam Deck, and more. Let's get started. Alright, we'll kick things off here talking about Game Boy emulation in your browser with IronBoy. And IronBoy just got a pretty significant update. If we take a look at IronBoy's GitHub, we can see that memory bank controllers 0, 1, 2, 3, 5 have been added, which basically means that IronBoy is compatible with almost every single Game Boy game out there. And we can also see that Game Boy Color support is on the way. IronBoy is free, it's open source, and it should work on mobile devices, so I'll drop a link to it in the description below. Moving on, and we're talking about multi-arcade machine emulator MAME, and MAME version 0.254 just got a brand new update, and this is a pretty big one. I will leave a link to the full changelog in the description below, and feel free to check it out. As of version 0.254, the first batch of Namco System 10 games have been emulated. And for those who may not be aware, Namco System 10 was actually based on PlayStation hardware. Pretty interesting. On top of that, there were a whole bunch of bug fixes, game improvements, and also a dozen Yamaha keyboards that were emulated. And speaking about emulated, next up here we're talking about Nintendo Switch emulator on Android, Skyline, and Skyline just got a couple of brand new updates. If you head to skyline-emu.1 and click on download, at the time of filming here, version 2494 is the latest version. This version has a whole bunch of fixes that were previously in Skyline Edge and now have made their way to the mainline build. And it's also improved the overall robustness of the game auto refresh feature. And interestingly enough, the paid testing early access version of Skyline Edge also got a brand new update. They're up to version 71, and these changes are the exact same ones that you'll find in the mainline build. Moving on, and we're talking about EmuDeck, and holy smokes is this a huge update. So EmuDeck version 2.1 is the version you'll probably want to update to. They've introduced the EmuDeck store. You can now browse and selectively download games from EmuDeck's homebrew collection. They have completely revamped the user interface. They've added in a quick action section here for popular features. And they've added in a whole bunch of new emulators. They've added in Melon DS for Nintendo DS, Rosalie's Mupen GUI for N64, MGBA for Game Boy Advance, and they've also added in the app image for CMU, Wii U, and the early access version of Yuzu, Nintendo Switch. It's now a lot easier to manage your emulator configurations, and there's also a brand new USB transfer wizard to easily transfer your ROMs to the device. On top of all of that, they've even made it easier to migrate your installation from internal storage to microSD. Next up, we're talking about PlayStation 2 emulation on PC with PCSX2. And the PCSX2 devs have been very busy. There's been a whole bunch of nightly updates, and some with some game fixes that you might appreciate. I mean, for example, on version 1.7.4419, we've got various DB fixes for FIFA 2001 to 2004. I'm a big FIFA 2001 fan, so I'm happy to see this. And at the time of filming, they're already up to version 1.7.4427. If you haven't updated PCSX2 in a while, you might want to pick up the latest development build. Next up, we're talking about PlayStation, Microsoft, and Activision Blizzard. And today the CMA, which stands for Subscribe to Mr. Sujano, or Competition and Markets Authority depending on how you want to interpret it, has officially blocked the Microsoft Activision deal. Now, interestingly enough, this entire deal was hung up on one thing that sucks right now but might not in the future. And that's cloud gaming. The CMA has prevented Microsoft's proposed purchase of Activision over concerns the deal would alter the future of the fast-growing cloud gaming market, leading to reduced innovation and less choice for UK gamers over the years to come. There were a lot of people upset at the CMA today, but I took a look at their article and there's one point here I actually really agree with. It says Microsoft's proposal was not sufficiently open to providers who might wish to offer versions of games on PC operating systems other than Windows. If you don't know this by now, I'm a massive fan of Linux, and the CMA is kind of protecting Linux gaming just a little bit. It looks like Microsoft and Activision will be filing an appeal to try to have this decision overturned. I'm kind of curious to see what happens. I'm kind of curious to see if Microsoft and Activision revise their terms and try to make it better, or they just try to steamroll the CMA here. Let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below, but it doesn't appear that this deal is going to get done anytime soon. Next up, we're talking about the ASUS ROG Ally, and it appears that prices may have been leaked. They may have been, but they also may not, so just take this with a grain of salt. Anyways, here the Z1 Extreme, and that is the better of the two AMD chips, is rumored to be priced at $700 overall. And I would say that's disruptive. Now, if that is true, and that would be a big if, the Z1 model, the lower tier model, which isn't slow by any stretch of the imagination, would be probably priced around the $500 mark, possibly even cheaper. Again, take this with a grain of salt, but that would be competing pretty heavily against the Steam Deck. I am not going to lie here, I'm really curious to see where the ROG Ally ends up. Will it be a Steam Deck killer? I don't think so, not even at that price. I would argue that the Steam Deck at the end of the day will be easier to use. Both the ROG Ally and the Steam Deck can be used as actual PCs. So I think overall here, whether you go Steam Deck or ROG Ally with a whole bunch of unknowns, both will be a winner for gamers overall. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff. My voice is still a little bit messed up, but I'm feeling a lot better, and hopefully tomorrow it'll be back to normal. Fingers crossed anyway. We talked about a bunch today. Let me know your thoughts about absolutely any of it in the comments below. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button. Check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate. Save your state.